Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another blacksmithing video. It's been a very long time. This has been due to a variety of reasons. Mostly my workshop has been taken up with lots of different projects of late, and I really haven't been able to get the space. If I showed you around now, you'd see that the place is a bit of a mess, and we're sort of building back up to the condition it should be in. But that's all been worked on, and we are moving forward with this. And you should be seeing more blacksmithing videos coming soon. That being said, this is my first time in the workshop for quite a long time. I've been doing a few odd projects in here, a little bits of blacksmithing, but nothing too serious. Anyway, today I'm going to be forging an axe I want to do. This is a gift for someone. I want to do a little bearded hatchet. And to help me along with this, I'm going to be using this fantastic hammer, which I'll show you in more detail in a bit. But this I forged with Daniel Lee at the International Blacksmith Festival. A fantastic event and a fantastic guy to forge with. We had a great time, and I certainly, it was an experience getting to grips with the heavy hitting of things. That was some serious forging going on there. Something which I just haven't been able to do to that level here. So thanks to him for a fantastic time and giving me the opportunity to forge this with him. I have been using it ever since, but this is my first time making a video with it, so I thought I should most definitely go ahead and show this off to you guys and say a big thank you to Daniel for both putting up with me and for him and the entire International Young Smiths contribution to that festival. Here's the hammer. It's been an absolute pleasure to use of what I've used of it so far. It's real heavy, around 4 pounds, which I must admit takes some getting used to use as an everyday hammer. But I'm starting to get there. I normally forge with a 2, maybe 3 pound hammer. So I'm somewhere along the way. As you can see, it's stamped there, Jake's Edge, Daniel Lee, International Blacksmith Festival. Got a beautiful handle on it. I learned a hell of a lot making this. Both in terms of striking, directing, and as well handle making being something which I'm not massively good at. So it, not only did I come away with a great hammer, as well as a hot cut Hardy, I might add. Where's that? Here. Got a nice hot cut Hardy here. But not only did I come away with the tools, but I came away with a lot more experience and knowledge. And now, hopefully, once I've got the tooling, I'd be able to make my own. I'm not sure whether or not I'd hopefully require a bigger forge first and a few other things before I really went on to do anything quite so heavy duty. But hopefully in the future I will be able to start making my own tools like this. And certainly I'll be able to use a lot of the knowledge I learned on punching and slitting, that sort of thing, and drifting for making things like axes, which I do fairly often, albeit rather a lot smaller. I've got some upcoming projects soon after this, so you should be seeing a fair amount coming out here. We've got this axe. I'm going to make a spearhead fairly soon. That'll probably take one attempt to actually get in the socket and then actually doing the video. I want to do some arrowheads as well, which sort of work on the same principle. However, that will probably have to wait until after I figure out how to sort out some arrow shafts. I need to get a good source of some straight grained wood, as well as actually work out a way to turn them into dowels. I've seen lots of videos on doing that. It doesn't seem too hard to make, but yeah, I probably need to sort those out first before I start making heads for them. Same goes as well. I need to make a shaft for a spear, and you want something like ash or oak. I've tried decent straight grained pine, but it's no good. It just breaks. So I'm going to have to try and find a source of that, and that's going to be difficult because you need quite a long length. I'll probably pop down a wood yard and see what planks they've got. You can get fairly cheap, sort of 2 metre long plus planks, about inch thick. Cut those into squares and round them off. Might have to be a bit thicker than that, mind you, but that's probably where I'll be going. Same with the arrow shafts. I'll probably buy a few planks of fairly thin wood, cut them into squares and run them through a dowel maker. Anyway, fire's ready over there, so we can actually get started.
In this first pass I'm not actually attempting to move any steel, I'm simply marking where I'm going to divide the eye and the blade section. Once they're marked, I can then use a fuller and other dies to further divide and then draw out each section. Here I'm using quite light passes and I'm taking it to quite a low temperature. This is to try and remove any hammer marks on the inside with the intention of preparing the surfaces for forge welding, and on the outside purely for cosmetics. Unfortunately, I failed to record a portion of this video in which I drew down the blade and worked on the curve, and also hammered in the bevels for the blade. I used a small amount of grinding in order to create a consistent curve. However, I feel that working on the blade at this stage was a mistake, and I'll touch on that later on in the video.
Okay, so this is going to be roughly the point which forms the back, which will be halfway between here and here. It'll be somewhere here, most likely. That doesn't matter precisely. That's a rough mark for where I'm going to start bending it. What we have here, though, is that, as you can see here, this sort of curves in. It's a continuation of this curve. This is fine. This is sort of what we was looking for. However, it's going to cause problems when we wrap this back on itself, because as you can see, this is considerably wider than that. So what we're going to do is just forge the end of this bit down a little bit, which will add a tiny bit of length, but will primarily serve the purpose of matching this with that. Obviously there's going to be some grinding when it's in place anyway, to make it look nice, but otherwise, if I didn't do this now, I'd have to grind all of that off, and it's much better to forge it than to grind it. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to forge this bit. We're then going to wrap this back on itself like this, from rolling it from the center around the horn to make it round. And then once it's forge welded and pretty secure, I'm going to run some drifts through it to kind of make it more round, because it's going to be like a teardrop shape when it's welded initially. Then once that's welded and once it's the right shape, I'm then going to twist the whole thing, because if you imagine, hang on, if you imagine, I'll have my steel and I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this to make it more round, but it's still going to be lopsided. It's going to be like that, and I'm going to make it like that, so that this is centered with this. It's fairly simple, just a little hard to explain. It's a little bit thick there on the ends where I've been working it, so I'm going to give it one more quick pass just to reduce the thickness. Okay, the end now is a slight taper to it, which is going to make it much more suited to the forge welding. So we're now going to start to bring it round and start to prep it for welding.
Here I'm applying sand as a flux. You must do this while the steel is red. Once the scale is formed, you can brush it off, apply the flux, and you've got to put it back in the fire before it cools down enough for the scale to reform. I do this between every weld. You can get away with not, but I prefer to do it all the time, and you just got to brush it off before you hammer it in. You can also use, and I recommend borax is also probably a much more effective flux, but I find sand works just fine for me. Here I'm doing a straightforward quench with oil because it's 5160. Quench in oil, blade down so that the blade cools quicker and hardens more.
Okay, so we hardened the blade by quenching it in oil, and now I'm doing differential temper. If you've not seen me do this before, basically the idea with temper is to soften the blade and sacrifice some hardness for flexibility. It's especially important with an axe because if it's too hard it will just crack on impact. Now 5160, the steel we're using, is quite impact resistant as these things go. However, a good temper will make it last a lot better. So what I do is I put the back end of the blade first, and this is just sitting over some hot embers. I put the back of it in first, so the back will go very, very, very soft, and as the heat transfers up, the temper colour will run on the blade, and when it gets to a brown, I'm pretty satisfied that it's ready. And by doing it this way, you ensure that the body of the axe, and especially the eye, is going to be fairly soft and springy, while the blade itself will remain comparatively hard. This will basically prevent any damage through shock. And I'm just watching the ground section on the end of the axe to wait until it starts to change colour. It'll go like a straw yellow, which is barely noticeable. It'll run yellow, and then eventually brown, and that's when I want to quench it in water. If I let it run any further to like blue colour, which you quite commonly see, I'd let it go too far, which means it's going to be too soft, so I'll have to re-quench it, re-harden it. But I'm confident that I won't let it run, and I might actually have to put the blower on a tad, because this ember bed isn't massively hot. Okay, so here's the axe head after heat treatment. We can begin to finish this now. I'll bring this closer. We can get the wire wheel on it, buff up the body and sharpen up the edge. And then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get it fairly sharp, then I'm going to put the handle on and then sharpen it up to its final sharpness. What I did learn from making this regarding this method, I wouldn't recommend it, and if I'm going to do this again I'm going to change it. While I was eventually able to get a sound weld, as you can see there's no obvious inclusions or flaws in the weld. That will certainly show up during testing if there is any flaws. but I had massive problems with overheating. Because I forged out the blade and some of the other bits before welding, it meant that a lot of bits overheated and I had to do far more grinding on this than I normally would like to. So if I did this again, I'd probably do the eye first in order to prevent and protect the rest of the axe from being overheated, resulting in having to remove quite a lot of material, which is both time consuming and really just not ideal. But it seems to me to be a sound axe. It's all nice and square and straight. It didn't walk much during heat treatment. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and get this on the wire wheel. Then we're going to crack out the. I've got a big ash stump, and I'm going to chop off, split it up, and find myself a good bit to make a good straight grained handle from. Right.